I never imagined that one simple signature, my signature, could unravel the fragile peace of a household I once believed was built on love, trust, and mutual respect. But that was before I understood how quickly family can turn into something conditional, something fragile, something that shatters the moment you stop giving and start protecting yourself. Nothing is, and this is where everything began. It was a Thursday evening, one of those nights where the sky was bruised, purple and blue, threatening rain, but stubbornly refusing to let it fall. I had just finished setting the dinner table. The roasted chicken filled the house with the comforting smell of garlic and herbs, the kind of scent that reminded me of the home my late husband and I had shared. Since moving in with Marissa and Dylan, I always tried to make the place feel warm like a sanctuary instead of a house ruled by bills, stress, and the constant hum of Dylan's business calls. "Eleanor, can we talk?" Dylan's voice broke into my thoughts. It was too casual, forced. I glanced up to see him leaning in the doorway of the kitchen, his posture stiff, the way a teenager stands when he's about to confess a broken window. His eyes darted to the table, then quickly away. "Of course," I replied, wiping my hands on a towel. "Is everything all right?" He led me to the dining room where a stack of papers sat neatly arranged, far too neat for someone as disorganized as Dylan. That alone should have been a warning. A man who couldn't even keep his shirts folded, suddenly presenting perfectly aligned documents. "Trouble?" He sat across from me, clasped his hands, and inhaled sharply. "I need a favor," he began. I waited. "It's nothing huge, just, I need you to sign something, a loan for the business." I stiffened. "A loan? What kind of loan, Dylan?" "Just a co-sign," he said quickly. "My credit isn't perfect. Well, it's fine, but you know banks anyway. They want someone with a stronger credit score attached. You wouldn't have to pay anything. It's just a formality." I stayed silent, letting his words hang between us. Dylan didn't like silence. He always filled it with excuses, explanations, or exaggerated confidence. And tonight was no different. "It's for expansion," he added. "Bigger warehouse, more inventory. The company is growing. This would push us into the next level." I folded my hands. "How much is the loan, Dylan?" He hesitated for a beat too long. 200,000. My breath caught. 200 thou. Dylan, that's not a formality. That's a massive commitment. He smiled, nervous but trying to appear composed. "It's all calculated. I've got projections. The bank agrees it's a great move." Something in his tone was wrong. "Too rehearsed. May I see the paperwork?" His jaw clenched, just slightly, but enough for me to notice. "I mean, do you really need to look at everything?" he asked. "It's boring stuff. Numbers, charts, Dylan." I said, my voice firm. "If you want me to sign something, I will read every line of it." He swallowed hard and slid the papers forward. I picked them up and began studying them. Years of managing our household finances with my late husband taught me enough to know when numbers were hiding lies. And these numbers weren't hiding lies, they were screaming them. The expenses didn't match the revenues. The risk assessment was nearly blank. His credit score wasn't not perfect. It was abysmal. There were warnings from his previous lenders. Notes about late payments. One page even hinted at unpaid taxes. "Dylan," I set the papers down slowly. "This business isn't expanding. It's drowning." He flinched. "You plan to use this loan to pay off your debts, didn't you?" He looked away. "Just part of it, but that's temporary. Once the money kicks in, no," I said gently but firmly. "Taking out a massive loan to patch holes in a sinking ship doesn't stop it from sinking. It just drags everyone on board down faster." His face twisted. "You don't understand how business works." "I understand enough to know this is dangerous," I replied. "And I can't sign this. I won't." Before he could argue, Marissa walked into the room. She must have heard part of the conversation because her eyes were already sharp, expectant. "What's going on?" Dylan gave her a wounded look. Your mom won't help us." I opened my mouth to explain, but Marissa cut me off. "Mom, this could change our future," she snapped. "Why wouldn't you sign?" I steadied my breath. "Because it's not safe." "Honey, this loan could ruin us all, us," she repeated, eyebrows rising. "You mean ruin asterisk, you asterisk? You don't have anything to lose." The words hit like a slap. I had sold my house, my home, to clear debts and help them. I paid rent even though she said I didn't need to. I bought groceries, covered emergencies, watched my granddaughter. And yet she looked at me now like I was some selfish stranger. "Marissa," I whispered, "I've done everything I can to support you, but I can't risk the rest of my life on a loan that's already doomed." Her lips thinned. "Then don't expect to stay here long." For a moment the room went silent, dead, empty. Dylan watched me with guarded triumph. Marissa looked cold, controlled, but her trembling hands revealed the truth. She wanted me to cave, but I didn't. I stood heartbreaking and said the single hardest sentence I've spoken as a mother: "Then I won't." Because sometimes protecting yourself means letting the people you love fall. And that was the night everything began to crumble. I didn't leave immediately, not because I was unsure, but because shock has a strange way of slowing the world down. My ears were ringing, my chest tight, and the voices of my daughter and son-in-law seemed to echo from a distance, like they were speaking through water. Marissa was the one who looked away first. She crossed her arms, refusing to meet my eyes, as if avoiding the reality of what she had just said made it less cruel. "Don't expect to stay here long." I didn't argue, didn't fight, didn't plead. Something inside me, something wise, something wounded whispered, "Asterisk, asterisk, this is not your home anymore." Asterisk, asterisk, so I nodded once, turned away, and walked upstairs with a heaviness in my bones I hadn't felt since the day I buried my husband. That night I didn't sleep. I sat on the edge of the bed, the room I helped paint, the room where I read bedtime stories to my granddaughter, the room filled with small pieces of my life, and wondered how everything had shifted so sharply. The moonlight filtered through the curtains, painting pale stripes across the floor. I watched those stripes move slowly as the hours passed, marking time I didn't have. Around 2 a.m., I started packing, not dramatically, not angrily, just quietly, methodically. I folded my clothes. I wrapped the framed photo of my husband and me in one of my sweaters. I placed my books, the ones I brought to read to Ellie, into a small tote bag. Every sound felt too loud, as though the house itself was listening. When I reached the bottom of the stairs at dawn, I paused. The air smelled like the coffee I had brewed every morning. The rug by the entryway was the one I had gifted them 2 Christmases ago. My coat hung next to theirs, like it still belonged, but it didn't, and neither did I. I reached for the door just as Marissa's voice cut through the silence. "Mom," she stood at the base of the stairs in her robe, hair messy, eyes swollen with sleep, for a moment, a fleeting, trembling moment. I thought she might apologize, that she might take back the awful words she had said out of anger or stress or fear. But instead she asked, voice tense, "Where are you going?" "I'm leaving, sweetheart," I said softly. "You made your position very clear." Her jaw tightened. I didn't mean asterisk right now, asterisk. And I can't stay another moment where I'm not wanted. Her lips softened just a little. A crack in the armor. I almost held onto it, almost clung to the hope that we could fix everything right then. But then she said, "Why does it have to be so dramatic?" And the crack sealed shut. I slipped my coat on, picked up my 2 suitcases, and stepped outside without another word. The cold morning air bit at my cheeks as I walked down the street, dragging my life behind me on small plastic wheels that rattled against the pavement. I looked back once, only once, and saw the outline of Marissa through the frosted window. She didn't wave. She didn't open the door. She just watched. I realized then that this wasn't a moment between mother and daughter. It was a moment between a woman who valued herself and a woman who had forgotten how to value her. My savings weren't much. just what was left after paying my husband's medical bills and helping with theirs. But I found a small apartment in an older building on the opposite side of town. The paint peeling from the hallways and the flickering fluorescent lights didn't bother me. I had known worse. The landlord, a heavy-set man with kind eyes, handed me the key without fuss. "It's old," he warned, "but solid. Old but solid." Like me inside, the apartment smelled faintly of dust, and the lingering sense of its previous tenant lavender, and something metallic, maybe old pipes. The walls were yellowed with age, the windows were streaked with rain stains, the carpet had seen better decades. But it was mine. I unpacked slowly, arranging the few things I owned with careful intention. My books on the shelf, my husband's photo on the nightstand, my sweaters in the narrow closet. When everything was in place, I sat on the old couch the landlord had left behind and listened to the building settle. It creaked differently than Marissa's house. It breathed differently, but it didn't judge me, didn't use me, didn't threaten me when I said no. For the first time in a long time, I felt something like peace. Days passed. Then a week. I picked up part-time work at the local library, organizing shelves, helping visitors find books, enjoying the quiet hum of a place where stories lived safely inside their covers. It soothed me. Some nights were hard. I imagined Ellie wandering into my empty room and asking where Grandma went. I imagined Marissa pretending nothing was wrong. I imagined Dylan smirking, relieved the problem had removed itself. But slowly the ache dulled. I started sleeping through the night. I started eating better. I even found myself humming as I walked to the bus. Healing doesn't arrive loudly. It tiptoes. And yet, while I grew stronger, their world grew increasingly unstable. I didn't know it yet, but the cracks in Dylan's business were widening. His lies were catching up to him. His debts were building like storm clouds, heavy and ready to burst. The very storm I had refused to walk into with him was now closing in around them. And soon enough it would swallow everything they thought they controlled. Leaving wasn't the end of the story. It was only the calm before the collapse. 2 months passed in a quiet, steady rhythm. Work at the library became my sanctuary, a soft refuge of paper and ink where no one raised their voice or demanded anything from me. I memorized the scent of the place, a blend of old books, dust, and the faint sweetness of vanilla from the candle one of the younger librarians always burned at her desk. Life was slow, predictable, and peaceful, and then everything changed with one phone call. It was a Thursday afternoon when my phone buzzed with a number I didn't recognize. I considered letting it go to voicemail, but something in my chest urged me to answer. "Hello," a brisk male voice responded. "Is this Eleanor Hart?" Yes. "We're attempting to reach Dylan Foster. He listed you as an emergency contact." I froze. The library shelves around me seemed to tilt. "Dylan? Why would he? He has fallen behind on significant payments. We've been unable to reach him." The voice paused. "If you can contact him, please advise him to call us immediately." I don't live with him anymore," I whispered. "Well, if he reaches out, our number will be on your call log. Thank you." The line cut. My hands trembled as I lowered the phone. Emergency contact? Why would Dylan put my name, the woman who had already told him no, on something so important? A cold realization prickled down my spine. Asterisk, asterisk, had he planned to pressure me again? Was he hoping the bank would push me into signing? Asterisk, asterisk, I didn't want to believe it. But deep down, I knew the truth. Dylan was the type of man who never stopped taking until someone forced him to stop. I returned to shelving books, my mind a whirlpool of uneasy thoughts. That night, as the building around me creaked in the dark, I sat on my old couch and stared at the wall. Was Marissa okay? Was Ellie safe? Had everything spiraled as badly as I feared? My phone remained silent. My daughter didn't call, but 2 days later, she finally did. It was just after sunset when the screen lit up with her name. Asterisk, asterisk, Marissa. Asterisk, asterisk, my heart leapt and twisted at the same time. I answered quickly. Marissa. There was no greeting, only a choked sob. Mom, I stood up so fast I nearly dropped the phone. Honey, what's wrong? It's all falling apart. She whispered, voice trembling like a broken bird. Everything I don't know what to do, tell me, I said gently, start from the beginning. Her words poured out in frantic, gasping bursts. Collectors keep calling the house. They said Dylan owes money everywhere, banks, credit cards, private lenders. Mom, I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. I closed my eyes, letting her speak until her sobs eased. There's more, she whispered. I found papers, letters, notices. He's been hiding debt for years. I pressed the phone closer to my ear. What kind of notices? A few are warnings, but one said they're investigating possible fraud. Something about forged documents. My knees went weak. Marissa, did he forge your asterisk signature? No, she sniffed, but he forged someone's. I don't know whose, but the papers said it looked inconsistent, and they wanted to question him. I exhaled shakily. Thank God, thank God. What did Dylan say? I asked. She was quiet, too quiet. He left. My breath stopped. Left. He walked out last night. She said in a small voice. Packed a bag while I was putting Ellie to bed. Just walked out the door. No explanation. No goodbye. Nothing. I sank onto the couch, heart aching. Not for Dylan, never for him. But for the daughter who had chained her life to a man who had never deserved her trust. Mom, Marissa said softly, her voice breaking again, you were right. You were right about everything, and I was too stupid, too proud, to listen. Oh, sweetheart, I whispered. No, you believed the man you loved. There's no shame in that. She cried harder. I said horrible things to you. She choked out. I told you to leave. I pushed you away. And now I need you, and I don't deserve to ask. Stop. I whispered. You're my daughter. You will never have to earn my love. There was a long silence, fragile, trembling, heavy with everything unspoken. Finally she said in a voice softer than a breath, Mom, please, can you come over? I can't do this alone. I'm scared. I felt tears warm my cheeks. After everything, after the betrayal, the hurt, the abandonment, my first instinct was still to protect her. To hold her, to be the mother she needed, even if she had forgotten my worth for a time, of course. I said, I'll be there tonight. But as I hung up, one thought lingered like a shadow. This never would have happened if she had trusted me in the first place. Dylan's lies were unraveling. Marissa's world was collapsing. The storm I refused to walk into was finally breaking, and the house I once lived in was now drowning in consequences. And the next chapter of our lives would not be easy, not for her, not for me, but I knew one thing for certain. Asterisk, asterisk, the truth had finally surfaced. And it was only the beginning. Asterisk, asterisk, the walk back to my daughter's house felt surreal, like stepping into a memory I wasn't sure I wanted to revisit. The streetlights glowed dimly, casting long shadows that rippled as the wind pushed fallen leaves across the pavement. Everything looked the same, every mailbox, every trimmed hedge, yet I felt like a stranger approaching a life that no longer belonged to me. I paused at the gate, the place where I used to water the flowers each morning, where Ellie waved at me from the living room window, where I once believed I was safe. My heart tight and my breath uneven, I knocked on the door. It opened almost instantly. And there stood my daughter, but she wasn't the polished, confident woman who once defended Dylan with unyielding loyalty. She wasn't the Marissa who threw my heart aside like a piece of clutter. She was tired of stepping over. No, this woman looked asterisk, small asterisk, frayed, fragile. Her eyes were red-rimmed, her cheeks tear-stained, her hair pulled back in a messy knot. She looked like she had aged 10 years in the months since I left. Mom, she breathed, and her voice cracked on the single word. I stepped inside gently, slowly, like stepping into a room full of glass shards. She watched me as if she expected me to vanish at any second. Come sit, she whispered, leading me to the living room, the same room where she once stood tall, arms crossed, telling me I was no longer welcome. And now she was trembling. The house that used to bustle with noise and laughter was silent. Even Ellie wasn't home. She was with a friend for the night, Marissa explained softly. As soon as we sat down, the composure she tried to hold onto crumbled. Marissa buried her face in her hands and sobbed like a child. "I'm sorry," she cried. "Mom, I'm so sorry for what I said, for what I did. I don't know what came over me. I should never have taken his side. I should have listened to you. I shouldn't have." I reached for her hand. "Marissa, honey, slow down. It's all right." "No." She looked up at me with swollen eyes. "It's asterisk, not asterisk, all right. I kicked you out of your home. I let him manipulate me. I pushed away the one person who never hurt me." Her shoulders shook as she tried to steady her breathing. "You were only trying to protect me," she whispered, "and I punished you for it." My eyes stung with tears. I wiped them quickly. "Marissa, I never wanted to see you hurt. That's why I said no." She nodded shakily. "I know that now, and I will be sorry for the rest of my life." We sat in silence, real silence, not the hostile quiet that filled the room months ago. This silence was heavy, yes, but healing. It held apologies and forgiveness without needing to be spoken aloud. When she finally found her voice again, it was small and pleading. "Mom, can you come back home? Not just tonight. I mean, come back to live with us. Please, I can't do this alone. I need you. Ellie needs you. She swallowed hard. "I'm drowning." I inhaled deeply, feeling the weight of that request settle on my chest. The part of me that still ached from her betrayal hesitated. But the part that loved her beyond reason, beyond pride, beyond wounds, softened immediately. Yet I couldn't make the same mistake twice. "Marissa," I said gently, "I love you. Nothing can change that. But I can't just step back into the same role, under the same conditions." She looked startled. I didn't mean. "Mom, I'm not asking you to cook or clean or pay bills. I'm asking you to come home because I want you here, because I was wrong, because I miss you." Tears slipped down her cheeks again, "and because you're the only steady thing I have left." My heart broke open, but not in the painful, jagged way it had months ago. This time it opened with purpose, with clarity. "You are my child," I whispered. "I will always be here for you, but if I come back it's on new terms." She nodded quickly. "Anything, whatever boundaries you want, I'll respect them. No more guilt when I say no." I said, "Yes, of course. No more being treated like a financial safety net. Never again," she promised. "And I want us to talk, really talk, not argue, not assume, communicate." She reached out and squeezed my hand. "I want that too, more than anything." I let out a slow, shaky breath. "Then yes, I'll come home." The relief that washed over her was immediate, overwhelming. She threw her arms around me and held on like she was afraid I might fade away. "Thank you," she whispered into my shoulder. "Thank you, Mom." I stroked her hair gently, the way I used to when she was a little girl with scraped knees and big feelings. "You are forgiven," I murmured, "but we both learned something important." She nodded against me. I leaned back and looked into her tired eyes. "You learned that love isn't about choosing a side. It's about choosing what's right. And I learned that even as a mother, I have the right to protect myself." Fresh tears filled her eyes, but this time they were different. Soft, relieved, humbled. "Mom, I promise you, I will never let anyone come between us again." In that moment, the wounds between us didn't heal completely, but they began to close, piece by piece, breath by breath, and for the first time in a long time, the house felt warm again. *** epilogue. Style ending for chapter 4 ***. I didn't return as the woman who left. I returned stronger, with boundaries, with self-respect, with proof that walking away was the very thing that saved us both. And when Marissa realized what she almost lost, she changed not out of fear, but out of love. Sometimes the sweetest revenge isn't revenge at all. ***, it's becoming so strong, the people who underestimated you have no choice but to rise to your level. asterisk asterisk.